we can say that there was genocidal rhetoric at the beginning. Now there are actions on the ground. And I dated my own evolving thinking to May 8th, because on May 8th, the IDF moved into Rafah, and it was asked not to do so by the Americans. And they did so anyway, and they triumphantly said that the Americans had told them that they can't move in because there's so many civilians there. And they said, no, we can move the civilians. And they triumphantly said, yes, we did. We succeeded in moving them. And indeed, they moved 800,000 people, so moved them. I mean, they evicted them from Rafah, and they moved them to the coastal area. Now, for many of these civilians, this was the second or third or fourth time that they'd been displaced. And they were moved into an area that has no infrastructure. And so the population now has been shuttled around again and again and again. The humanitarian conditions there are absolutely appalling. Just the other day, they identified polio there. IDF troops have been inoculated for polio, but what about the population there? And so what appears to be the case is that the population is being gradually debilitated. That is, it is being brought to a situation where its own life, its own existence is being made impossible. These are conditions that assure the weakening, massive death of the population, which will then lead it either to die out there in large numbers or to flee. And that's what the UN Convention on Genocide calls genocide. The one thing that remains and may never be clear, and the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, may also leave it open, is whether there was a premeditated plan to do that, or whether this was an evolving kind of operation that ended up carrying out these genocidal actions. I have to say that historically, that's what happens in most genocides, including in the Holocaust. In 1939, there was no premeditated plan to kill all the Jews of Europe. It was an evolving policy. When we talk about genocide, how do people explain to themselves what they're doing? And I would say that in all genocides, including the Holocaust, including Rwanda, including the genocide of the Herero in 1904, the genocide of the Armenians in 1915, Kampuchea in 1975, in all those cases, the people carrying out the killing see themselves as victims. They see themselves as victims of the people they are killing. And they also imagine that if they don't kill those people, and especially because of the manner in which they're killing them, then those people who are now their victims will turn around and victimize them and do to them what is being done on them. And so in that sense, genocide is often a cycle of perception or reality, and it's not necessarily different, of victimization. The second thing is that in all genocides that I can think of in the 20th century and in the 21st century now, there is either a reality or a semblance of war. That this is created under warlike conditions. And again, you can go through all the genocides that I mentioned. The Germans come in 1904 to German Southwest Africa, now Namibia, with an army. They're going to quell an uprising. It's a war. And they issue a Vernichtungsbefehl, an extermination order, right? This General von Trotta, the German general. The Ottomans in 1915, they're in a war. And they're saying the Armenians are collaborating with the Russians who are invading us from the east. The Germans, of course, see themselves in a war. They're fighting a war against the Jews. They keep saying the Jews are the partisans. Not only in 1918, when they, so to speak, stabbed us in the back, but in 1941, the partisans and the Jews, Hitler says to Himmler, treat them like partisans. And partisans, of course, have to be executed because they are not regular forces. And so there's always a semblance of war, and the people carrying out the killing are usually wearing uniforms, usually under army control or police control, and usually perceive themselves not as murderers, but as soldiers fighting to protect their own people. So in that sense, modern genocide is very much built around this notion, first of victimization, and secondly, of a general kind of military confrontation. And the people being killed even though they may be babies, old people, pregnant women, are somehow perceived as connected to the enemy who will destroy us if we don't destroy them.